How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Where's 808?
This is Honolulu, Hawaii.
Hawaii. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, what's the weather like there?
I bet you can guess what the weather's like. It's sunny and mid 80s. Nice trade winds blowing.
Great.
So,
Sounds just like here. That's great. I'm in Los Angeles.
yeah, that's what I figured.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm rolling tape, so we'll make a nice interview for the coverage of this record, Decade of Dio compilation, and also explore some of your other history too. You're still working with Jeff, right, in Operation Mindcrime?
Yes, I am. The album
Cool.
comes out September.
Nice.
I'm just waiting to hear about tour dates. So,
Awesome. That's going to be
good.
cool. That'll be very cool. Well, we'll bring that up in a moment in the interview. But thank you again for taking some time for us. I really do appreciate you being willing to speak. It's a real thrill seeing you when I was a little kid.
Oh yeah. Oh, no problem. No problem. My pleasure. I was a kid too, so yeah. All grown up now though.
So when we think about the young version of Simon, and I know a little bit about when you got into drums. I actually played drums myself, so I was wondering what got you playing the drums and into music to begin with.
Oh, it was just it was just for me. It was watching TV. There was a TV show in England called Top of the Pops, and it was the only thing on TV that you could see. That there was nothing else, and I'd just be watching and I'd be tapping away on the chair and, it just went from there really. I kind of thought, I can kind of do this. And then it just went from there. I got a small drum kit, a real crappy one. I must have been, 13, something like that. My father played drums in the Boy Scouts, but he never really pushed that on me or anything and stuff. He loved music and stuff, but, just a drum kit. I had no cymbals and got some cymbals, got some more drums. It just went from there, and I used to come up from school and be practicing at home, playing along to the records, trying to figure out what they were all doing. And, just went from there, really. Kept playing. I loved it, so it wasn't a problem,
And so when you think about yourself watching Top of the Pops and just before, let's say, you get the drum kit, what was some of the music you had been exposed to or music that you gravitated to as a 12, 13-year-old?
Yeah, back then it was kind of, it was like the Sweet and the Glitter Band and stuff like that. But then it was UFO and Thin Lizzy and, stuff like that. Thin Lizzy was a big influence. Brian Downing, I used to love his playing. I still do. But UFO as well. And I think Priest went on there as well a couple of times around about that era. And stuff like that really, The more drummers in the band, the better, It's like, just absolutely drum crazy for I used to run home from school, play drums. I just loved it, and in that respect, it was good because I just kept playing and playing and playing, and I kind of learned because I loved it so much,
Well, it made a great foundation for the career that you've had. When you say that about the drums, it's interesting. I forget exactly how you put it, but it made me wonder if you liked some of the groups, and there weren't that many that used two drummers. I can think of Allman Brothers Band, Grateful Dead, Doobie Brothers at different times as just some. I know it seems like heavy metal and hard rock was more in your favorite list of things, but did you like some of the bands that utilized two drummers?
I did. I mean, like I say, I was just drum crazy. I mean, it started with like, the Glitter Band or whatever. It was that long ago. It was, that kind of thing. The two drummers. Then I saw Genesis, and it was Phil Collins and Chester Thompson. I thought,
Right.
Wow, that's cool.
Right.
I wasn't into so much, like the Doobie Brothers and Grateful Dead, because there wasn't a lot of that around in England. It was I think it's safe to say it was a very American thing.
Sure.
And at that point it hadn't crossed over. But I know what you're talking about. Those guys too are great,
Well, that's a great reference, though. I remember because I didn't really listen to that stuff till I got older. But when I was a kid, when I was 16, I got to see Chester and Phil playing drums for Genesis. So I forgive me for leaving that out of the important mix of dual drummer bands, because that was definitely one of that was maybe the biggest concert I ever saw that had two drummers, or I guess the Grateful Dead, because they were doing stadiums too. What was your first concert that you went to as a kid, Simon?
The very first.
The
first one was, I remember it well. It was, I wasn't old enough to get in, but my father took me. I forget how old I was, but it was the Runaways at the Free Trade Hall in Manchester, in England. And it was great because it's got these balconies, right? And you can really sit over the stage, and, it was just, I was blown away, It was like the girls and all this heavy rock music going on, that was my first show. I didn't really know that much about it, but that was the first one.
And ironic, Girls' School was like a first gig too then, so there was more female rockers ahead right around the corner.
Yes, that was it. We opened for Girls' School, a band I was in called A to Z, or A to Z. We did the British tour with them that lasted about, I think 4 weeks, something like that, and we had the best time. They're such a wonderful bunch of people. They really are. They treated us so well. We were just, pretty much kids. It was a great time. Real eye-opener.
I can imagine. It's kind of like...
And they're still going. Girls' School's still going, so it's they're still doing really well. They're still playing. They were just on tour last year with Motorhead and Saxon, I believe, so they're still doing well.
And that's funny. That's another one of those bands that had a bigger thing over there in England and Europe than in America, kind of like what you were talking about, a reverse of the thing with the Allmans and the Grateful Dead sort of thing.
Yeah, they've been over here a couple of times to America, but they just didn't break it for some reason, which is a shame because they're fun band. They're good players too, But I guess they keep trying. They keep coming back.
You were really, really young when you got that first gig, which is pretty amazing, with AC/DC, ended up doing the Fly on the Wall. How did that happen that you were at that age getting such a huge opportunity?
Well, it was a simple thing, really. You wouldn't have thought a band like that would actually use the avenue that they did to get a brand new drummer. It was an advertisement in a local music newspaper called Sounds, and it was an ad in the back of the paper that said, "If you don't hit hard, don't apply." Drummer wanted. So I hit pretty hard. I just do. So I answered the ad and I went down there. It wasn't too far away, the rehearsal studio. But I was still wasn't up to very much. There wasn't a lot of work around. But anyway, long story short, I went down there. I played for the drum tech to 3 songs, and he said, "That's really good. It's nice to meet you. We'll be in touch." And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. So anyway, they did call me back a couple of hours later and said, "We want you to come down again." And I was like, "Well, I really don't have a lot of money. When do you want me to come back down?" He said, "Don't worry about that. Just get yourself in a cab and come down." So I went back down again, and then I got introduced to the band, and we played some songs, and it was all really, really low key. It was no big, parade or anything, But I do remember walking down the corridor to this other rehearsal place where the band were, and I didn't know they were in there. I didn't know it was them. And I saw the flight cases with AC/DC on them, and I just looked at this drum tech, and he looked at me and smiled, and I just said, "You're fucking joking, right?" So he went, "No." So there I go. I go in, and we just say hello, and what songs you know, and I said, "Well, I kind of know this one and that one, so we'll have a go, and that was it, really. Next thing I know, I'm in the band, and what an incredible opportunity,
20 years old, right?
It was really cool. Absolutely cool. Maybe 19, maybe 19 and a half. Pretty young, that's for sure.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, it really was. But they kind of looked after me pretty well and stuff, and kept an eye on me, being such a tender young age. And it worked out really well. They're really cool people. They're very cool people, and it worked out. So that's how that went.
What opened the door? You did several records with them, from Fly on the Wall, Who Made Who, and then another record. And I see this switch to ending up being in the band with Dio. And I know Vinny had just left around then. What was it that made you switch and get this opportunity with one of rock's most legendary vocalists?
Well, it was through a friend of a friend. That got hold of Wendy and let her know that I was interested, because at my time in AC/DC had kind of come to an end. It sounds crazy, but I just run my course. I mean, I needed to spread my wings, sort of thing, and kind of grow up a bit and do more on the drums and stuff like that. And so, the move was there, the move was on, and kind of like we got together and played some songs with Ronnie. And at the time, he had a whole new band as well, because, like you say, Vinny had left. So, it was a bit strange for him and a bit of a learning experience for all of us too. But the thing I did love is that Ronnie told me to, kind of spread your wings a bit. Not basically do what you want, but, you can do a lot more now. You can really open up a bit, which I was really thrilled about. So it was a really great time around that time, yeah. And we did the album Lock Up the Wolves, which is on the Decade of Dio. So
yeah, I saw you in that tour. It was the summer of 1990, Philadelphia Spectrum, and I remember the show because, as a huge Rainbow and Cozy Powell fan, which I understand you're a giant Cozy Powell fan, I love the fact that at that concert you guys did a little medley that included some of the Stargazer song and that famous intro to it.
Yes, yeah, we that was in the set for a long time, and you're right. I've a lot of admiration for Cozy Powell. I think he's a brilliant drummer, and a little underrated, I think. I mean, he was a really solid player. But yeah, we used to do Stargazer quite a bit. We'd put that in there, and those were some good times. Yeah, that was the one with the bones going around the stage, right?
That part I don't remember, because I saw Ronnie several times before, and then I saw him later with Sabbath a few years later, many times in a row. And I was a huge Sabbath fan, so when he rejoined the band, that for me was like a big deal, even though it didn't work very long. And that sort of similar question comes to mind when I think of you joining Dio, because you only did like that short period, and then many years go by and you rejoin the band. Explain how that sort of the transition in the middle there.
Well, yeah, you're right. Ronnie went back to he got an offer to go back to Black Sabbath after we finished up pretty much with the Lock Up the Wolves tour. And I think it was just an offer that he couldn't refuse, and rightly so. I mean, it's all good. And then, I guess that was good for the one album with Sabbath, and it kind of fell apart for, I'm not sure exactly why. But, then it's like musical drummers, isn't it? I mean, then Vinny came back, and I rejoined again around 98 when Vinny
left to do Sabbath.
For one reason or another. Left to do Sabbath with Ozzy, I guess, I think.
Correct.
But, and then I got the opportunity to go back, and then I was there. Then I stayed there from 98 until 2010. So it's quite a while, And we did a whole bunch of albums, 5 or 6, I think. So that was a good time, really good time. It was good to be back with Ronnie, because I always had a feeling we had unfinished business, and we needed to get back together and do more. Just doing the one album wasn't very as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. So it was a good time.
And on that note, it's very death is it's a very significant transition, and not a lot of us who are already on the earth now know really where we go when that happens. We have different experiences. Maybe when we lose a loved one that we care about, we may hear things or feel things. And Ronnie was one of the most highly regarded vocalist, and as you've pointed out, you had a friendship too and an unfinished business kind of thing left there professionally. Can you talk about his passing and perhaps where you were leading up to that and the way that it has impacted you, maybe on a spiritual level?
Well, it definitely had an effect on me, and everybody, obviously. It was closely associated with him. It was really horrible. And, I'd not really been around anybody passing before. It was that close to me. My father was still alive. He passed away last year. But, yeah, with Ronnie, it was a real shock. And we obviously all really came together. We talked long and hard about things, and, it hit some people harder than it hit others, and others it hit harder later. So we had all that stuff to go through. But the one thing that I think we all had different emotions, but I think the one emotion that we all felt as a band was that we should do something about this. We should carry this on, and we should do something. Because when a loved one, passes, you don't forget them, you remember them. So we all thought the same thing. We were all totally in the same agreement and in doing it. So we formed Dio Disciples out of respect for Ronnie, and we carry on his music and keep going. And in a way, it's kind of like a healing thing as well for us, because Ronnie had this work ethic that was unsurpassed. I mean, he was just a workaholic. And I think he instilled that in us. It was work, and that was something that he left us that was special. And we really feel that, and we go out and we play, and we're doing the job. We're getting the job done for him, we go out, we play. We don't make a lot of money. We're doing it out of respect for Ronnie. That's basically what we're doing with Dio Disciples. So we have that. We don't have Ronnie. I wish we didn't have to do Dio Disciples. I wish Ronnie was here and we had him. But life is life. It is what it is, and we carry on the best way we can, with all the respect for Ronnie. So
that's a huge way to put it.
We just do.
I can understand, and it's a real powerful thing. I lost my mom and my grandmom a couple of years ago, and it has completely changed my life. And so when thinking about this, talking to you, I can only imagine getting to spend that much time with this guy and then be there through such a very emotional time. Were you there when he passed, or close to him and around him leading into those final days?
Yeah. I looked after him for a long time at home. I've been living at his house for quite a while. I went through a divorce, and I was going to leave the band and all the rest of it and move to England. He said, no, stay at my house. So 13 years later. So I was there. I was helping him when he would come home from doing chemo and stuff, and look after him and make all these extremely healthy shake drinks for him. It was recommended by the doctor 3-4 times a day. And just basically look after him as best I could, because he's a difficult man to look after, because he's so focused. Even when he was very, very, very sick, he was still very focused. He didn't look very well, but that was really, really difficult thing for me to go through. But the reason I did it is because I know that he would have looked after me if I would have got sick. So it just made sense to me, but it wasn't easy.
God bless you, Simon. It doesn't sound easy. That's powerful stuff.
Thanks, Dave.
I appreciate it. And, what can you say? Dio was a very special guy, and you obviously played a special role in his life. I don't think much could follow that. It's legendary drummer Simon Wright, and talking about Decade of Dio compilation, talking about extraordinarily close times that he had with Ronnie. And on a positive note, I'll just leave it with this. I know you're now working with Jeff Tate, and you're in Operation Mindcrime. If he has not already told you the story, it's a fun one, and it'll make you smile after all the serious stuff we talked about. Ask Jeff to tell you the story of when They were opening up for Kiss one time, and both Cher and Diana Ross showed up at the same time backstage.
Okay.
It'll make you laugh and put a big smile on your face. Quite a dramatic story there.
No, he hasn't told me that one. I must ask him about that. I will ask him.
That's a good one.
He must have had his hands full.
It's quite a story, and one that'll definitely give you a good chuckle.
Hi, this is Simon Wright. You may remember me as the drummer for AC/DC and Dio, and right now I'm with my good friend Dave Lawrence.
It's fantastic, and I should just tell you that, and I'll let you go with this because I know your time's tight. My very three favorite drummers, ironically, and I say this with my mom listening in heaven, no bullshit. My three favorite drummers appear to be yours, which would be John Bonham, Cozy Powell, and Tommy Aldridge.
Yes, they're good for me. They're good for you, huh?
So when you talk about hitting hard, I know that you obviously do if you listen to those guys. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I ran into Tommy, and I don't run into him. Now and again I do. We were at the same rehearsal place a couple of weeks ago. They were going out, and we were rehearsing with Disciples. I came out. I plastered my thumbs up with tape. He comes over and goes, "What are those? Come here. I'll give you some stuff. Come here." So he takes me in behind his drum kit, and he says, "Here, use this stuff." And it's like this kind of skin tone tape that stretches, and it's got a lot of grip to it. Amazing stuff. You being a drummer, you'll probably appreciate this. He says, here's a box of them. So I'm like, are you sure about this? He's like, yeah, I got an endorsement. Don't worry. They just give me all this shit, you know? So I'm like, well, that's really cool. Thanks, Tommy. You know, he's like, yeah, no problem, Simon. You rock, brother. And I'm just like, I'm still a little bit like, wait a minute, that's fucking Tommy Aldridge. You know? It's like, so yeah, it's like your heroes as you grow up and you get to know them as well. It's like, holy shit, this is great, you know. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful thing.
But anyway, I'll leave you there, Dave.
God bless you, Simon. Thank you.
Talking with you.
It was great talking to you, man. I hope you had fun. Be safe, man. Aloha.
You too. All the best to you. See you again.